Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. Today we've got some more mid-power casual gameplay for you, and I'm excited to see what happens, so let's hop right into it. First up is Jason on Breya. This is an Artifact Aristocrats deck, trying to leverage artifact tokens for value and work towards a combo finish. He'll keep an opening hand of Seat of the Synod, Razortide Bridge, Talisman of Indulgence, Mirror Retriever, Goblin Welder, Shimmer Dragon, and Scrap Mastery. Up next is Shelby on Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. This deck plans to abuse Ivy's ability by copying her and then targeting other creatures with instants, auras, and mutate spells. Shelby will keep an opening hand of Dreamroot Cascade, Command Tower, Leap, Brainstorm, Psychic Impetus, Beast Whisperer, and Coma. Up next is Matt on Korvold. This Big Dumb Jun deck plans to cast a Big Dumb Jun Dragon and other Big Dumb Jun spells. Matt also made it his personal mission to prove to wizards that they need to stop printing cards that make treasures, but that's not going to stop him from using them. Anyways, Matt keeps an opening hand of Fabled Passage, Zeator's Proving Ground, Lotus Field, Reign of Riches, Tireless Provisioner, Chatterfang, and Goldspan Dragon. And last but not least is Cameron on Jaxis the Troublemaker. This mono-red deck is all about getting out its commander and absolutely abusing its discard ability. It is really fun to see the crazy turns Cameron can pull off with her on the battlefield. He'll keep an opening hand of 2 mountains, a Soul Ring, Containment Construct, Anger, Mindclaw Shaman, and Perforos Bronze-Blooded. We're about to hop right into the gameplay, but before we do, leave us a comment down below letting us know who you think is going to win. And while you're down there, don't forget to check out all our links in the description. We've got a second channel where we post our podcast, links to our Patreon, links to our Discord, you name it. We've even got affiliate links, and our first one is Dragon Shield. So if you're looking to pick up any high quality Magic products such as playmats, deck boxes, or sleeves, be sure to check out our link. We've also got a link to our Inked Gaming referral page, so if you're looking to make any custom playmats or anything of the sort, be sure to check them out as well. But that is enough talk, let's hop right into the gameplay. Okay, one more thing. There's a lot of construction going on above me right now. I'm trying to talk around it, but just in case there's a bang or two that makes it in, I apologize. Jason starts off with a Razortide Bridge and passes. Shelby will play his Command Tower and goes ahead and pops off his Brainstorm, drawing 3 and putting 2 back. Matt drops Zeator's Proving Ground and passes to Cameron, who just has the God Start, plays Mountain, casts Soul Ring, and then casts Ironmere. The turn is then passed to Jason, who plays Spire of Industry, then casts Talisman of Indulgence, then casts Goblin Welder, losing a life. The turn is then passed to Shelby, who plays a Forest, then casts Ivy, and then passes to Matt. Matt plays and fetches with a Fabled Passage from Mountain, and then passes to Cameron while searching, who will just cast his commander, Jaxis, and then pass the turn to Jason, who will cast Goblin Engineer. And with its ETB trigger, he tutors Bolus's Citadel to the graveyard. And as you probably could have guessed, he'll use his Goblin Welder to swap his Talisman and his Citadel. And the first spell he casts off the top is Scrap Trawler. He'll play an Inventor's Fair off the top of his library, and then he'll cast a Sly Requisitioner, then a Ragavan, and then from his hand he casts Mirror Retriever, and then he'll pass the turn to Shelby, who will start off by playing his Dreamroot Cascade, then swing for 2 at Jason with Ivy, then post-combat he'll cast a Baby Rift on Bolus's Citadel, putting it back in Jason's hand, which is probably the best place for it. Shelby will then pass the turn to Matt, who shocks in an Overgrown Tomb, and then casts a Tireless Provisioner before passing to Cameron. Cameron starts off by casting Containment Construct. He'll then activate Jaxis, discarding Anger, and he declines the Construct's ability. After this, he plays a Mountainous Lane for turn, and then will cast Goblin Bombardment. With it, he'll sacrifice the token that he created, drawing a card and pinging the Goblin Welder for 1, killing it. The turn is then passed to Jason, who will start off by moving to combat and swinging Ragavan at Shelby and the Requisitioner at Matt. Shelby responds by casting a Leap on Cameron's Mirror, and Ivy will copy it, so Shelby draws 2 cards. Damage will then go through, Jason gets a treasure, and Shelby exiles Toski, which Jason immediately casts. He'll then play a Drossforge Bridge and pass the turn to Shelby, who starts off with a Waterlogged Grove. He'll then cast a Beast Whisperer and pass the turn to Matt, who starts off by casting Chatterfang. He'll then play his Lotus Field, sacrificing his Overgrown Tomb and Mountain, and he'll get a Squirrel and a Treasure Token as well. The turn is then passed to Cameron, who starts off with an Illusionist Bracers. And of course, he equips them to his commander. And then he'll activate Jaxis, discarding and exiling Wayfarer's Bauble, and the 2 triggers will go for Ironmere. The 2 abilities resolve, and Cameron will then float 2 red mana. He'll then sacrifice both of them to ping Scrap Trawler twice, drawing himself 2 cards and killing the Trawler. And when it dies, Jason gets a servo. He still has 2 floating, so he'll play a mountain, cast Wayfarer's Bauble, and then crack it for another mountain, and then he'll pass the turn to Jason. who will immediately move to combat and swing 5 creatures at Cameron for a total of 7 damage. Cameron will block the Requisitioner with his Construct, but before damage, Matt will activate Chatterfang, sacrificing his treasure and his squirrel to give Toski +1/-1 till end of turn, killing it. Damage then goes through, Jason gets a treasure, and Cameron exiles Wormcoil Engine. On second main, Jason plays Seed of the Synod, and then casts the Wormcoil Engine. He'll then pass the turn to Shelby, who starts off with a basic forest as land for turn. And then he'll tap for 3 mana and cast Twinning Staff. He'll then just pass the turn to Matt, who starts off with a basic swamp as land for turn, which gets him a treasure and a squirrel. And then he'll tap for 6 mana to cast Korvold, the Fey-Cursed King. There is an ETB trigger, and Matt decides to sacrifice his swamp, which gets Korvold a 1/1 counter, and he'll draw a card. After this, he'll move to combat, and he'll swing for 3 at Shelby, who can't block it thanks to Forest Walk. And after this, the turn is passed to Cameron, who will start off with a Nykthos Shrine to Nyx as land for turn. And then he drops his Mindclaw Shaman. And Shelby, who knows this ETB trigger is going to be targeting him, decides to mana drain it. The creature is countered, and then Cameron will activate Jaxis to make 2 more Iron Mirrors, discarding Perforos the Bronze-Blooded. He'll then float 2 red mana, and then sacrifice both of them, drawing 2 cards and dealing 2 damage to Tireless Provisioner, killing it. Cameron then does what we call the Cameron Special. You see, Cameron's a really tight player, and he almost never makes mistakes. But when he does, it's almost always the same one. And we call it the Cameron Special. It's where, at the beginning of his first main phase, he'll play a land. And then he'll do a bunch of stuff during his turn, forget he made a land drop, and then make a second one. Normally the table will catch it, and he'll take it back. But this time we don't, so sorry about that. Mistakes happen. Continuing on though, he'll use his 2 floating mana, and then tap for 3 more to cast Clone Shell. When it ETBs, he gets to look at the top 4 cards of his library, and he'll imprint one to it. The turn is then just passed to Jason, who will immediately move to combat and swing Ragavan at Cameron again, who blocks with his Clone Shell. He'll also send Wormcoil Engine at Matt, who just takes it. When Clone Shell dies, Cameron reveals Bonder's Enclave. He'll then play a Great Furnace, tap for 6, and cast Shimmer Dragon. And then the turn is passed to Shelby, who gets 5 colorless mana on his first main phase, and then he'll cast a Gladecover Scout, and then play another forest. After this, he casts Psychic Impetus, targeting Korvold, and Ivy will trigger, copying it. Matt will respond by activating Chatterfang by sacrificing his treasure and squirrel to give Ivy +1/-1 till end of turn. He'll get 2 Korvold triggers from this. Shelby will then respond by bestowing Boon Satyr onto Gladecover Scout. Ivy will trigger and get one of her own. Twinning Staff also triggers for both the Impetus and the Boon Satyr. Everything on the stack will then resolve, making Ivy a 15/8. He'll then move to combat and swing for 15 Commander at Jason. When she attacks, Shelby gets to scry 2 twice. He'll put 1 on top and 1 on bottom with his first one, and then he'll keep both on top with his second. Jason will then move to blocks and block with his dragon, but before damage, he'll tap 2 artifacts to draw a card. Damage will then go through, and then Shelby passes the turn to Matt, who starts off by paying 2 life and 3 mana to cast Birthing Pod, and he immediately activates it to sacrifice Chatterfang, Korvold trigger, and he finds Etsushi to the battlefield. He'll then move to combat, and he'll swing Korvold at Jason. Attack trigger, he'll sacrifice Etsushi, and you better believe he makes 3 treasure tokens. There is also a Korvold trigger. Jason will then just take 11 commander damage, and then Matt goes to his second main. He plays Takenuma as land for turn, he taps it for a black, and then sacrifices his 3 treasures for another black and 2 red. 3 Korvold triggers. He'll then use both black to cast Demonic Tutor, and we all know what he's going to get, Dockside Extortionist, which he immediately casts. Hey you. Yeah, you, I see you. You're about to go down to the comments and complain about Korvold. Stop that. Let people play what they want. Anyways, after it resolves, Matt makes 18 treasures. Then he'll sacrifice 4 treasures, and this is when he finds Ruthless Technomancer. He'll cast it and sacrifice Korvold to it, and this brings him up to 29 treasures. He'll then sacrifice 3 of them to cast Phyrexian Altar. This presents a loop where he can infinitely sacrifice his Dockside Extortionist and reanimate it with his Technomancer. So Matt repeats it until he makes 1 million treasures, and then with 1 million treasures, he'll cast a Kokusho. And with all these treasures, he can continuously sacrifice Kokusho and reanimate it with the Technomancer to drain everyone till they're dead. And so, with the loop presented and no responses at the table, everyone packs it up and Matt is tonight's winner. Congratulations! Well everyone, there you have it. Is that how you expected the game to go? It kinda was for me. Korvold's really powerful. Let us know who you thought was going to win down in the comments below. As always, be sure to check out all our links while you're down there. We've got one to almost everything now. We've even got a Patreon, and you can see our patrons on screen now. Thanks you guys! But we've also got deck lists, links to a second channel, and our public Discord where we have weekly game nights. I also realized that last week I completely forgot to announce the winners of our 40k giveaway. Unfortunately, the original winner of the second place prize never reached back out to us, so we had to choose again, and it actually ended up being CambyVT, who won one of our previous giveaways. So congratulations, we're getting that shipped out to you. And our first place winner was Dubious Doobie. You won the Swarm Lord and won it painted as Hive Fleet Leviathan, so we're going to get that painted for you. It's going to take a little bit, but as soon as it's done, we'll get it shipped out to you. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a smooth day.